right, welcome everyone to the first ever podcast of the Chicago Fringe Festival. We're so excited that you're joining us virtually for this wonderful first time in the studio. This podcast doesn't really have a name yet, but we appreciate you joining us on our audio experiment. My name is Vinnie Lacey. I have many titles. One of them is Executive Director of the Chicago Fringe Festival. We hope to bring you this podcast at least monthly in the months leading up to the Chicago Fringe Festival when we're a little bit quieter. And maybe at this point you're asking, hey, what in the Sam hell is Chicago Fringe Festival? And I'm excited to tell you it's Chicago's premier, unjuried, uncensored performing arts festival. We produce 50 shows over 2 weekends right in the heart of Jefferson Park in about 5 venues. And if that sounds like a lot, it certainly is. It's crazy. It's a crazy good time. We just finished up our 4th year of producing, and that was an awesome year for us, and I can't believe we are on to year number 5 right now. If you want to check out more about Chicago Fringe, please go to chicagofringe.org. I believe the technical word is navigate. Navigate over to chicagofringe.org, and in that same spirit of uncensored, unjuried performing, today I bring you your 4 graduates, my very first guest, a group of performers at the 2013 Chicago Fringe that created a show that, well, this show was just very, very good. It was an excellent show, and we'll talk more about that later. But let's get right down to it. Please welcome Our Fair City. Yay!
Hey, welcome.
Hey, Our Fair City. So I am here with creator, let's go with creator and head writer, Clayton Faits.
That sounds great. Yeah, we're thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Hi, Clayton. I'm also with executive producer and director Jeffrey Gardner.
Hey, Vinnie.
Hi, Jeff. And also joining us is Dave Rheinstrom.
How's about you?
You're a producer and writer for the show, David.
These are both true facts. Thank you.
And sitting off in the corner, though, certainly last but not least, Betsey Palmer. Wave, Betsey. The world hears you.
She's waving.
So, thank you guys so much for being here and being my first guest. This is so exciting to do like a podcast because I've always wanted to be pretend I was more of a journalist than I actually am. But this is awesome, and I'm so thrilled that I get to do like an audio medium with an audio based group, like as my first act. Because I was thinking like, man, when I get dancers in here, this is gonna be tough.
Whoosh.
Yeah. Put it into words how you dance. So here's my very first question is, gentlemen, tell us, and Betsey, tell us about Our Fair City, how it began, how you guys got started. What's the deal?
So I was in college. This is Clayton here. I was thinking about global warming and how it's a bad thing. It's the opposite of good, I would say. Deep, right? Yeah, it's deep thoughts. So
Clayton, why did that thought intrude upon you when you were in college?
Well, I was at school in a little town called New Orleans when a little storm called Katrina made landfall. And I started to get curious about how these kinds of things happened. And it turns out it has a lot to do with the temperature of the ocean as the storm moves across it. And that temperature is increasing. And so although it's a little dodgy to say that any particular weather event is directly related to climate change, more and more we're realizing that our weather is changing fundamentally. So I tried to extrapolate it forward. I said, what's the end game if we don't change our way of thinking? And it started to sort of take shape as society breaks down, as food becomes scarce, as people start to riot. Big corporations with money are going to want to protect their assets, and the government is going to become less and less able to control the people and control what's going on. So anyone who has a monopoly on violence, whoever has the most guns, is the de facto ruling body. And so we imagined Hartford, Connecticut, after all of this has sort of taken place, run by Hartford is home to a lot of insurance and annuity companies.
You just changed to the we. You said
Sure.
We imagine this. So was this Clayton's idea, like sprung fully formed like Minerva from the head of Zeus?
Yeah.
Or was this, something that took shape over time? Like,
Sure.
How did that happen?
I'd like to point out an early collaborator on the project, David Swank, who was a college friend of mine who went off to law school. So he's not involved in the project today, but he was sort of essential in creating some of these initial ideas. So we conceived of this Hartford, Connecticut, run by a corporate city-state that grew out of an insurance company. And when I came to Chicago after college, I found myself in the middle of a really talented pool of, artsy geeks or maybe nerdy artists, depending on which direction we're coming from. And I met up with Jeffrey Gardner. Jeffrey was my earliest sort of collaborator that began to make this a reality. And it was such a big story with so many things that were outlandish. We envisioned underground digging machines. We've got mad scientists creating genetically modified mole people. We've got things that are really hard to represent in a realistic way through film or on stage with the kind of budget that we had to work with. So we thought audio was a terrific way to bring those big visions to life. And that's where Jeffrey came in.
Yeah, and I would say that. Sorry, I got lost. Beep, beep. I have nothing to say here.
How did it go from this idea, right, of like this post-apocalyptic company?
Sure, I can absolutely.
And then move. I'm curious, especially to know how it got to like the audio format.
Sure.
Can I talk about the first season writing process a little bit?
Let me jump in on one thing before that. So before we had anything of what we have now, the online audio drama, etc., it actually started out as a project a lot like what we ended up doing for the Fringe Festival as a live radio piece that would be performed. We were looking at, once a month, a couple times a year, in bars or theaters or performance spaces around Chicago. And then we also envisioned recording it and making it available online. And they were these big, hour and a half long pieces that we'd kind of slowly rotate in and out. And then we realized we were producing two different kinds of theater at once. We were doing both a recorded audio drama and a live performance. And that was a huge amount of work to be doing month in, month out. And so that kind of evolved into these very tight, compact 10 to 20 minute audio-only, internet-only pieces.
And how did you guys hook up in the beginning? Did you know him from anyone? Like what?
You'll like this.
Jeffrey and I were at one time professional wizards together.
We were.
No, just leave
Elaborate. No, just leave it there.
Just leave it there.
So a lot
I'm not really into the wizard community, so you have to let me know.
No, neither are we.
We joined the same professional organization for for wizards.
No. A lot of the early adopters in the Art Fair City community, and still a lot of the people who worked at a certain large science museum in Chicago. It's actually a great gathering place for a lot of really talented artists and interesting people and geeks, and so that was a great space to kind of meet and start collaborating. And I guess it just kind of fell into a thing we were discussing on breaks and then grew from there.
We got drunk one night and we looked at each other and we swore a solemn oath. This is Jeffrey and I, that we swore a solemn oath that we were going to take this idea and make it a real thing. There might have been a pinky swear.
I think there was.
I think you guys dropped the lead about the wizards.
Oh, so there was an exhibit at this large science museum that had to do with a very famous boy wizard at a very famous school.
Yeah, I think I know who that is.
Okay.
But anyway.
Sure. So we were working in said exhibit with our best authentic British dialects.
Yeah. So we were pretending to be British wizards 40 hours a week, which just got confusing.
It does things to your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this museum also have a large submarine?
It might.
Sure does.
Oh, I wonder.
We have
Clayton,
mutual friends.
Do you know
We need to discuss
anything
this
about that
afterwards.
that submarine?
I know an inordinate amount about submarine history. I know more than any human should.
Excellent. Well, we'll get into all this. One thing that struck me as I began to look on your website and sort of investigate more about you guys, stalk you guys, I guess, is that you roll deep. There are like 43 people listed on the freaking website.
And
I'm like, what? 43? You've existed since 2011. I don't have 43 friends in Chicago, and I've been here 10 years. So tell me about that. How do you?
You got at least 4 more now.
Aw.
Well, so David's here in the room with us. David's a great example of how we bring people into our fold. We sometimes find them. We find folks that we want to work with.
Yeah,
we reach out.
I do not, nor have I ever worked at a large science museum in Chicago.
So David came to us. David basically, you cold called us.
I appeared
you
out
really?
of the... Well, my friend Phil was doing a sociology program at University of Chicago, and he met Jeffrey at a Hyde Park party, and Jeffrey told him about OFC, which was just getting its Kickstarter started for season 2. And I started season 1. Oh, well, yeah, that's right. And I started a radio theater company when I was in college in St. Louis. And so I came out of that, hitting Chicago and be like, I want to do that again. And so Phil gave me Jeffrey's email, and then this was like December of 2010, and I didn't get to meet them until like February of 2011 because I just kept on sending emails. And finally, Jeffrey and I had a mutual friend on Facebook, and so I found him, and I was like, I really want to meet with you and be part of your thing. It sounds really cool.
That's awesome.
We got beers, and I was like, what's the level of profanity we go to here?
Oh, I don't give a fuck.
We're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right. It was really awkward. But they said,
way to muscle your way in.
They said, David, we're kind of full up. And this was when, I don't know how many people were in the
a dozen or two, not the number we have now.
We don't really have much more room in the organization. You have experience with sound design. That's great. We already have a sound guy, but whatever. Yeah, come by my apartment when we record. And I said, okay. And so I showed up to Clayton's apartment, and they were recording on 2 separate computers with 2 separate microphones with 2 instances of Audacity.
It's a little primitive.
And like in order to record, you had both like 2 people pressing the space bar at the same time, and I was like, okay, we can. There's work to be done here. I can help.
So David just started, kind of getting hands on and pitching in.
It was useful.
I showed up and I was like, I will make myself of use if I can.
This reminds me of the way Chicago Fringe sometimes takes on people too. It's like, what do you do well? Okay, and so you grow in certain areas oddly, like one arm's really long.
I think for the same reason, right? You guys are doing
something.
Because
we're in this pool of like
we're in this pool of amazing, talented people, and there's a lot of great storefront theater in Chicago. But a lot of it, when I was auditioning around town, when I was doing a lot of stage work, I found that a lot of it was sort of stock kitchen sink Americana. It was very vanilla in that way. There's a lot of that stuff out there, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we wanted to do something completely different.
We wanted to do something weird.
We wanted to do something weird and offbeat and genre-y and fringe.
That's good.
Fringe
then do your own
targets,
shit, as I say.
When you're doing something unique, when there's a guy coming to Chicago that has a radio theater, itch and an interest in science fiction, like David found us because we're that game that's in town.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
When you got weird theater.
And then how about you, Betsey? How'd you get involved?
Come on over, Betsey.
It'd be funny if she just said 2 words like "have tits" or something like that.
We'll travel?
Yeah. I want to pull over a chair.
You're fired.
Yeah, come Betsey.
Yeah.
Come join us.
I quit.
So, I got to be friends with these guys because I also worked at a certain large science museum.
Oh, okay. You were part of the museum.
Yeah, I actually, I knew Jeffrey before that because we interned together for a theater company here in town. And you were maybe my first friend that I made here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like my first new one, yeah. And so when the whole thing started, I wasn't involved in season 1 except for planning the launch party. But then when season 2 came around, Jeffrey and Clayton were kind of like, so, it could be really awesome to have an organizational mind on this.
We were so disorganized. It was rough.
We were. It was also about the time that Jeffrey and I stopped dating and Jeffrey and Betsey started dating.
That's true. Although, to be fair, you guys never really stopped dating. But it was kind of a mess, and we had grown a little. And actually, I think that our last count of contributing people in all 4 seasons is like 75. It's a huge number of people to coordinate.
There are people that aren't listed on the website.
So how did that happen? You just continued to add these people and they sort of come in different bits?
Sure, and we produce a regular audio drama that's a podcast, but we have a unique original piece of visual art, multimedia visual art that goes with every episode that's viewable on the website. Brilliant artists that we found from across the country, across the world.
Actually, across the world now, yeah.
We have a webcomic that sort of sustains us between seasons when we're not releasing new audio. We have live performers.
We have a comic book series where we're going to print issue number 3 by January.
Yeah, I'll want to get to all that stuff a little bit later.
There's a lot of
but essentially what the public needs to know is that if they want to be part of our fair city, they just need to keep emailing.
Bug us. Yeah, no. We found that running something this big and this regular, we've needed all kinds of people, and we've been able to find really awesome, fascinating people with all kinds of different sound or skill sets. And also David. No. we've found great people who we like spending time with, and a lot of them have said, "Yeah, I'd like to help out or be part of this weird, crazy community that we've kind of grown slowly."
That's the wild thing is we spend so much time together, even when we're not working on the project. We just hang out together.
And so audio being the main one of the, let's say, the first medium that you guys found yourselves in.
Yeah, it's odd that we're all so pretty.
Yeah, right. Man,
And
that's
David.
what I was just thinking. We're taking pictures today too. We'll post them up with this. How is it that you how mainstream would you call that sort of genre? In other words, when you put this out into the world, you think of Chicago, okay, storefront city for theater, that'll happen. People will come, you at least, right? Or you say improv, people will come. Maybe it's just your freaking, the weird guy in the your next door neighbor or whatever, but someone will come and check that out.
Sure.
How does the audio then, how did that become something that you felt like you could get out into the world and someone would listen? And then how do you even measure if it's a success or not?
Sure. Well, that's several parts of that. I think there's this actually really fun test that you do when we meet someone and we say, "Oh yeah, we do this, sci-fi audio drama, kind of like The Shadow or like the old Twilight Zone," and people either go, "Oh," or they go, "Whoa!" and if they do the second one, we know those people get it and they're into it, and I think because it's so off the beaten path, there's just a niche audience that likes that. I mean, recently we've seen a big increase in kind of audio drama listenership. With programs like Welcome to Night Vale, We're Alive. There's a bunch of things that are starting to hit some really nice mainstream success. And what we're finding is those people who listen to those, people who get turned on to those through NPR or other big mainstream media outlets, then go to the internet and say, okay, what else can we find that's like this?
I mean, this is the era of the ascendant podcast.
Sure.
Right? And so the sort of media we make is perfectly situated for everyone having their own little personal listening device.
I go so far as that we're in the middle of a revival of the medium.
Sure.
We're on the forefront.
Yeah.
Perhaps you are, because, for example, I've had a lot of theater experience in Chicago, and I've seen good and bad of it, but I hadn't had a lot of audio drama experience. And what I had seen was okay, but a little dry, maybe. And so when I saw your show, it really opened up a different kind of world to me, that this format, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too, could be more engaging for the audience than just auditory. I don't know.
There's a lot of the older stuff, and for a lot of years, and this is a fine thing to do if it's what you want to do, but a lot of people have just kind of aped the old, tried to replicate the old golden age radio programs, and that's not what we're interested in doing. We're looking at creating something as alive as a lot of the really cool art that we see every day in Chicago, and so bringing both the massive and incredible talent pool that Chicago has to bear on this kind of medium has been really fun.
Audio drama is hokey. A lot of audio drama is hokey, and I say that's got good and bad that comes with it.
There's all sorts of hokey things that I love to death.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we all do. But we're trying to do something that's maybe a little less hokey and a little more edgy. Something that's got a little social message behind it in a fun way.
And I think you're spot on there, because when I think of you say radio drama, I think of American Theater Company doing It's a Wonderful Life.
Sure, which I've seen a couple times.
And I'm sure, and it's good.
It's
but
lovely.
It's going to be that thing.
Right.
Or, redoing Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, or, something that is a proven classic, if you will.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at my shoes now. We did a War of the Worlds this year. For the 75th anniversary, there was a competition, and one of our writers, Jim McDaniel, wrote an Our Fair City themed War of the Worlds
So you had
script.
your own take on it.
Oh, yes.
Got it. So it wasn't a straight
Sure, because
fight.
War of the Worlds, although it's I was going to say it's showing its age, but I'm not sure I entirely agree with myself.
No.
War of the Worlds is something that at the time wasn't hokey. It was edgy. It was thought-provoking. It
Well,
was
that 50th anniversary thing that you showed me was
super impactful.
incredible.
Well, perhaps the word I'm looking for is just classical.
Yeah.
And then you're really trying to do, again, revive it or make it more relevant
Neoclassical,
again.
if you will.
something new.
So that's awesome. I love that about it. How did you guys decide, and maybe I'm just assuming here, that you would do that you would have a live performance element to this?
Oh, it's a great way to reach people. As you say, audio drama, the audio medium is a growing sort of niche market, but it is still very much a niche market, and live performances are a great way to get people in the door. The live show, which you saw, which we performed at Fringe, we tried to make sort of an ambassador piece that was a way into the world of our radio show without requiring any background knowledge, with some Easter eggs for the fans, for people who do listen to the show, but something that you can come, you can appreciate and enjoy, and your reaction is exactly what we're looking for. We want people to come and see it and say, "Oh,
What is that
this
about?"
is nothing like what I expected. I
Yeah.
have to hear more." You know,
Right.
that's what we hope to get from our live performances.
So how did that come? Was this the first live performance that you guys had done? Was
No,
Fringe the
we've
first
been
live
doing
performance?
live performances for, I guess, about a year, 2 years. We've gone out to actually a little science fiction convention in Minneapolis that hosts a lot of audio drama stuff. They do the Mark Time Science Fiction and Horror Audio Awards every year.
Mark Time and the Ogle.
And the Ogle, yeah, that's
Our Fair City is a 2-time winner of the Mark Time Award.
Yes,
true
that's
fact.
right. Thank you, Vinnie.
Yeah, so it's been for a while. It's been a gathering place for a slice of the audio drama community. So we took a kind of similar live show out there for 2 years in a row. The year before and last year, right before the Fringe, actually in July. So
It
that's
also
kind
had
of where we
Archie
cut
in
our
it, but
teeth.
with different songs and different sketches.
Yeah.
And was it hard when you first started envisioning that, like going from whatever your format was before to?
So when we started, I didn't know Jeffrey particularly well, and I learned while we were producing the audio drama that he's a pretty talented fiddle player and mandolin player, and not only that, but he's friends with a bunch of amazing folk musicians. And when I realized that, I thought, oh man, we got to do a variety show. We got to do a variety show in the classic style with songs and with sketches and stuff from the world, and that's kind of where the idea for our show grew out
So
of.
we should probably explain what the live show is. It's we pitched it as Garrison Keillor in the world of 1984. We have a Garrison Keillor / Johnny Carson character named Archibald Funny Pants.
Yes.
Who's this
Mr.
kinda
Archibald
harried,
Funnypants.
put upon host. And he's always trying to push at the limits of that the Heartlife Insurance Corporation has put onto his show. He's constantly being censored.
He's fighting against censorship. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. He's trying to get his message out and compete with the company's message that they wanted to
Yes,
send.
and the company's message, if anyone has yet to go to the website, is Heartlife, all the life you'll ever need.
Why would you need any others? Why would you go to anywhere else?
The board of directors loves you.
Oh man.
We're here for you.
So there was the time when it was at Jeff Fest, right? We were advertising for
So Jeff
Fringe.
Fest is a outdoor, for those who do not know,
Yes.
an outdoor music and neighborhood festival in Jefferson Park
In
that is sort of
beautiful Jefferson
seen its own renaissance of sorts, and now is like in Jefferson Park physical, the actual park. And these guys showed up. Take it from here. You can
we showed
explain
up
what
in-
you were doing.
I
I had put out a general ask if anybody was interested in busking, coming in just doing short performances, sort of pickup performances on the spot, pop-up performances for patrons, who are out with their families and things. And these guys show up looking like, well, suits. Yeah, tell us.
We were picketing.
Yeah, well, we showed up in nice corporate appropriate suits with large street preacher signs with the messages of the good company that has come here to save all of us. Through our corporate values and efficient workflow outcomes.
And
Who
if you
were
want
terrified of us.
if you want to freak out a Chicago street festival, show up in all signs, in suits with
suits.
pickup
Man,
signs.
I have
Oh, they almost had the police tackle you.
Yeah, because Jefferson Park is a cop neighborhood. Like,
Yeah,
everyone that
that's
lives there
right.
is a policeman.
Northwest Chicago, baby.
Yeah, I've never. I guess I have so much more respect for, in a way, people who stand out on the street with signs because the looks we got and just people just sprinting away from us as we
disgust.
walked in, and various authority figures running over to us and then reading, oh, they're from the Chicago Fringe Festival.
they're
There was one
artists.
that-
It's fine.
He came up and was like, "Oh, you guys are artists, okay."
It's all okay now.
Yeah, it was something else.
Which, I've always wanted that to be like a license you could pull out. No, it's all right. I'm an artist.
I'm an artist.
Get out of jail.
Groovy.
I think Chicago does issue those for the right amount of money.
It's true. I've killed 2 men with
Ask
that.
Rom. So take us through the process of creating an episode from start to finish.
So we conceive of each of our seasons, which are 20 10-minute episodes or 10, 20-minute episodes, depending on whether we're feeling short form or long form. We've been long form lately.
Yeah, this season's going to be like 20 to 25 minutes per episode.
Yeah, so we conceive of the entire season at once. And I'm fortunate to have a team of 5 writers, including David here.
Hello.
Really, really talented folks who really have tackled the world, and they've contributed ideas that I never would have thought of that have made it a richer, more fun place to play. And that's really what we try to do. We try to think what's going to be a fun story to tell. Which of our characters do we want to delve into? You know, generally we look at them, we pick our favorite, most beloved characters, and we think, how can we screw with them? And
what happens if we like to find new pairings for established characters and throw them into situations together to see what sort of chemistry we'll get from them.
So we'll conceive of the entire plot of a season, and generally it's focused on sort of one protagonist whom we're gonna just torture the entire time. And we beat out the episodes, but then
sometimes
the writers get to just go. The writers go. We kind of sequester
And
ourselves.
how many writers are there?
5
There's
writers.
5.
Okay.
You, me, Jim, Steph, and Mark.
Jim McDaniel, Stephanie Spence, and Mark Soloff, all
Correct.
really talented Chicago natives.
And
Or
wonderful,
natives
pretty
or
people.
current residents. And beautiful
Beautiful people.
Mark Soloff
Beautiful people.
with his gorgeous teeth.
It's just terrible that you're just an audio.
Right? So we sequester
It's actually
ourselves
fortunate
for-
I'm so beautiful that most of you are wearing protective glasses. So
Yeah.
I have this pop shield on just for your beauty.
So yeah, we come back.
shield you
We come
from
back with ready scripts, and we read our first drafts, and they don't agree, and there are plot details that are totally discrepant.
we
and
fight a lot.
We fight a lot. That's the great thing about it. So we have a nice long process working with the scripts, and we sit down several months before we record, as far in advance as we can. We sit down with as many of our actors as we can pull together, and we read it out loud, and we get to hear it. And when we talk to other folks who are producing audio dramas, you know, we're very fortunate to be in Chicago because they're sometimes working with actors who are remote. They're working with actors who don't have the time to do that, and so they don't have the kind of process that we do. So every one of our ideas gets tested.
Yes.
I don't think anyone's ever come up with an idea for the show that doesn't get shouted at.
Except for Mark. Mark writes like immaculate first drafts.
Yeah, Mark's
Me,
the
I have to go through like 5 or 6, but Mark,
Yeah.
it makes me furious how perfect he is.
But that's a big part of our culture. You know, everything gets tested. People say no to everything until like, we get it right. And I think our product gets so much stronger that way.
So it's a tough writer's room.
It's
Yes.
a tough writer's room, but it's a fun writer's room.
We
do a family style meal every time we meet. We get around
It's like
the table.
every Sunday in the wintertime, you know, we'll all go over to Clayton's and he'll have made pot roast and then we'll all sit there and
my
Jim will have his
gosh.
burrito because Jim always has a burrito.
You're making your own commune. I love it.
It's great. That's kind of the goal.
And then we all hold hands and recite the right of ownership and
the oath of loyalty
And
to
then
the
we-
company.
Oh my
like,
God,
open a
that's what I
vein
make my board do. Every time the Chicago Fringe board meets.
And when the
Good
bloody
move.
handprints on the glass table dry, then we start the meeting.
So once we're done with the scripts, we hand them off to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey basically takes the actors. You want to talk about the recording process?
Sure. So we have built ourselves a little recording studio in Clayton's apartment right now. We call it the Heart Life Studios, but it's the back office. And like we've said, we've got the privilege of working with a huge cast of really amazing Chicago actors, and we'll take everything and we read the entire season front to back all together, and then we go and we break down each scene and do 6 or 7 takes of each line just to see what happens and get as much stuff as recorded as we can.
We're generally we're rehorsing. It's when your horse gets tired, you got to switch horses, like the
switch
Pony
horses.
Express. When we will rehearse and record a scene in the same night, generally.
Sure.
We'll do a rehearsal process, and then we'll get it in the studio. And once we've done it half a dozen times at the table, we'll do it another half dozen in the mics.
Yeah. And then we
Jesus,
take
your poor editor.
Well, here he is.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey.
Wow.
so and then David and I
Wear a
go
lot of
back
hats.
and David will do what we call a rough cut. He'll cut together a bunch of different takes of lines and then I'll say, oh, okay, well, I like these 3 takes and I don't like these 3 takes, and we slowly just edit it down into just a bare file of audio.
Yeah, no
of-
sound
of-
effects, no music,
Yeah,
and then it
just-
goes off
just
to
dialogue.
Ryan, who is my audio superior.
Ryan Sheely is our lead sound designer, and
Just
I'm
a
convinced
masterful sound
he's an
designer.
avatar of a demigod of sonic power.
He's cute too.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody is. It's our first
Sings, dances, plays the piano. In an emergency, he can move it. Sorry.
So yeah, Ryan works with the material and spends just an inordinate number of hours layering sound effects and getting it just right. He's an incredible perfectionist.
Smashing glasses in his kitchen.
Yeah, if you go to the Our Fair City Facebook page, you can find some videos of Ryan and his very patient wife making messes around the house.
We always joke around. His wife Tara, who is also a tremendous actor and a performer in Our Fair City, is always stopping him from bringing home, massive clawfoot iron bathtubs and things because they could be great sounds.
Which is why Ryan and Catnip and I are planning on, that's another sound editor that works with us now, are planning on going to a scrap metal yard on the west side, and we're just going to take a bunch of hammers and we're just going to use his mobile recording setup and just break a bunch of shit.
And just try to get sounds.
And try to get sounds from garbage.
Just building a big library of sounds because we'll use them at some point.
Because you'll notice when I was in college, for example, and I had my little fly-by-night radio theater company, we made maybe 5 or 6 sound effects on our own total. The rest were all shamelessly pilfered from video game sound libraries. And something that was very important to Ryan and important to me is that we use our own sound effects from our own.
Very important to our lawyers.
Yeah, it's very important
question.
from a legal standpoint because we don't want to get sued for using someone else's sound effects without paying royalties to their library.
Mm-hmm.
So we skip that, and it involves Ryan agonizing over, the sound of emptying jugs of water into his bathtub, playing with little thunder tubes. It's amazing. He's
very cool.
Really good at what he does.
Now you were the Foley artist, David.
Yes.
For the live show.
For the live show,
at
yes.
Fringe. Tell us, did you have to go under his wing and be taught the ways before you were ready to do that?
No, well, I mean, I'd spent time with Ryan while he developed sound effects, but doing it for live is a different animal. That was something that really the three of us, Jeffrey, Betsey, and I worked on together. And we developed all sorts of different props for.
Betsey has also been a live Foley artist for us.
Yes, Betsey did it before I did, in a previous iteration of what we were calling the live episode, which was maybe a 15-minute piece, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did way back in the day at
the
Red Tape's CFAN, which is the other Chicago Fringe Artist Networking Night, I believe is that acronym.
Now defunct.
Okay.
Oh, well. With good reason.
We'll take the Fringe banner.
They were nice. They gave us a spot. Don't say that.
Sorry.
We will hold the Fringe banner.
But yeah, so for the original first iteration of the Archie Funny Pants show, though, David and I did co-Foley.
Yeah.
So we were reaching over each other and stuff, and eventually decided that it might be more effective to have one person.
Although I kind of miss the organized chaos. They both wore lab coats and safety goggles and.
But yeah, Betsey was the pioneer for live Foley for OFC. Yeah. So she taught me everything I know.
Well, the thing that's so cool about live Foley is that it's also a visual element. And audiences they fucking love it when you make a mess. No matter what it is, they're gonna be really into that. And I feel a little bit like I should give a shout out to Jonathan Green with Sideshow Theater Company here in Chicago, who I worked with for a while. Yeah, and I stage managed and production managed a lot for Jonathan, and he is not afraid to make an enormous mess, and it's very effective. And so with our live Foley, we really go for things that are also colorful and interesting to look at.
And gross.
I watched
gross
David
also.
punch a watermelon into pulp with his bare hands. And it was one of the best things I've ever watched.
During Fringe, it was a cantaloupe?
There was a watermelon and a cantaloupe. So during one of the performances, so I have to mimic the sound of someone's rib cage being broken, I have to squash a watermelon with a board. Well, during one of the performances, the board didn't go through. I'd scored the watermelon a little bit and it didn't go through. So I put the board aside, I held up my finger to the audience, and then I just sort of punched through the watermelon and then kind of hammed it up and held up the gooey bits of the watermelon to the microphone and gave it a squeeze for good measure.
Horrific.
And that's great. That's something I didn't really even, maybe I knew it in the back of my mind, but I didn't intellectually think of course the audience loves to see a mess. And I loved to see you making the little mole sound with your rake and a pile of rocks.
So those
and
were.
stuff. Like,
This was really cute.
just fun stuff.
The sound of mole feet was. Betsey, did you come up with that? It was.
I think that was.
One of you did. It was binder. It was you, Clayton. Oh, well, Clayton came up with this.
I was going to take credit for it. So
They're
I'll take
little silicone kitchen spatulas with tiny binder clips on them, and so then we would hit that on either my upturned cookie sheet, which we use to represent like metal decking.
It's one of those things you just got to see. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't even like we don't do it justice talking.
along
about
with the mess, the other part of the fun is watching unexpected sounds or seeing something that is not what it is, creating the exact sound. You know, the spatulas making footsteps and
The goop.
Yeah,
The
sure,
mole was a
sure.
good one.
Weird things that you wouldn't.
goop. Give us the
wouldn't
goop.
Expect.
We should talk about the goops as we brought it up. The goop.
The goop.
Oh, here the goop.
So there's this carnivorous mold that is an element in both the live show and in the series.
right.
It lives deep within the bowels of the subterranean arm of the city.
And the heart life refuses to acknowledge its existence. But what we did was we took glue and water and borax, and if you combine all those together and you let them sit for a little bit, it turns into this weird, squishy oobleck.
It's
you-
exactly like the gack of your childhood.
Yep.
Yeah.
You were born
gack,
in the 80s.
for sure.
And then if you put it into like a jam jar and you do obscene things to it with your fingers, it makes this hideous farting noise. And we use that to represent.
Especially with a really hot mic near it, it's just awful.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable.
You hear all
Wet
kinds of
and
ranges.
gassy,
Yeah.
and it doesn't sound good. It's the opposite of good. I guess that would be bad.
So bad it's good.
So bad it's good. That's our new tagline.
So how did you guys become familiar with the fringe model? Maybe this is a self-congratulatory sort of question, but
How do we find out about how great you are?
How did you find out about the Chicago Fringe model? Because I'm always interested in how people come to find out about us and decide this is a place where I want to showcase what we do.
Well, we're certainly on the fringe of mainstream theater. We are good friends with Jen Olson, who has produced Anonymously Yours with you 2 years running.
Mm-hmm.
And she had such success. We went out to see the show when you guys were at Pilsen a couple of years ago, and thought it was really terrific. And the assortment of it, the sense of community and the chance to interface with other fringe artists, not just from Chicago, but you have people coming in from across the U.S. And I think
The world,
you
really.
had an Australian this year, didn't you? Yeah. So
Rapping Clown?
No, an Austrian.
an Austrian.
Yes. Maybe an Australian as well
From
in that
Twisted
show.
Beats and Circus Feats.
But we did have someone, I think the furthest away that we plotted someone who was like actually traveling.
Yeah, so we went to see as you do when you're a Chicago theater, a community member. You go to see your friends' shows if you're a good friend.
That's right.
Hint, hint. So we went out to see Jen's show, and we wanted to know more. We didn't know we were going to find this whole world of fringe. We wanted to be a part of it, so we did.
We're glad we did.
We're glad we did.
Yeah. You guys would probably be a hit at some other fringe festivals around the country as well. If you had the means to
Yeah,
get about.
we mull over the idea of touring every once in a while. It's not a thing in reality yet.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, also, yeah, like from a practical perspective, as the practical mind here, fringe festivals are really awesome because you have the ability to access audience members that you might not otherwise have access to, and you have the ability to interact with all of these other artists, and that's a really valuable thing. And honestly, I think one of the most valuable things for us also about going to Convergence in Minneapolis is that we get to interact with artists and audience members we wouldn't otherwise meet, and that in and of itself is worthwhile.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
for
at
sure.
Convergence this summer, we met this really neat guy named Cale Gannon, and he's working on a noir adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where is he playing that in Minneapolis?
No, that's gonna be a podcast.
A
that
podcast.
they're just putting together.
Got it. So I want to describe what you did at Heartlife as sort of a show within what you did at Fringe as a show within a show. To a certain set, and that is what really sort of just like took it up another notch for me. And I was like, oh. So tell me about, is that something you conceived of right away from the beginning? Because I know that you said it should be this variety show feel to it.
We wanted it to be an ambassador piece. That's the term that we keep coming back to. And we
Right.
wanted it to be accessible to someone who knew nothing about our show and knew nothing about our world. And so, that's a challenge. We
We didn't want to hit on any of the main plot points of any of the seasons.
Right, we didn't want
Right.
it to be tied to like the audio drama plots. And the other thing is I personally have a hard time with like shows that open with a monologue paragraph of just exposition, and this is what you need to know before you can appreciate our story. I think
because then I don't appreciate that story. Then I've lost my ability to give a shit.
David feels strongly.
We do. We feel strongly about
Don't
that.
like opening voiceover or opening paragraphs.
Yeah. I mean, there are exceptions as there are to any rule, but generally it's something we wanted to steer clear from. So the best way to do that, we wanted to have an overt mouthpiece of Heartlife, and Archie Funny Pants provides that. We get to see how the company treats him. We get to see his attitude toward the company. And then within the framework of the variety show, not only do we get to feature these amazing folk talents that we've got within our organization, but we also get to see these little plays, and it's the entertainment that the company chooses to show its people. And that is really telling. It's what they allow to be broadcast on their airwaves. And so, as you saw, they tend to be these little allegories with a really sort of a twisted corporate moral. They're about keeping your place and staying in line. And when the company tells you that this is your role, this is your responsibility, then that's your first duty, whether it means you marching off to your death or betraying the people that you love and care about. That's the company comes first. And that's what they all drive home. And we try to follow some standard tropes, and then at the very end sort of twist it and invert it and turn it on its head.
Yeah, so keeping that in mind, let's play that first clip, which was a song that you guys... Well, explain how you do explain the songs for that show specifically.
David's our...
So I didn't write the songs, right? I rewrote. They're broadsheets. It's a tradition as old as the Republic. Taking established popular songs and rewriting the lyrics to them.
And rewriting the lyrics, yeah.
What are you giving me
Which
that
I thought
look,
was
Clayton?
so much.
Oh, you said as old as the
so
Republic,
much
and I thought about the Galactic Emperor. It's just
This is
so
a
much nerd in
occupational
this
hazard
room.
here. Yeah.
There's so much geek.
I
in
mean,
this
our
room. It's
own
crazy.
national anthem is a broadsheet. It used to be an English drinking song called "To Anacreon in Heaven," and
We're
then
just full of fun facts.
I used to work for a trivia company.
So we'll listen to a clip from there, and this first song was taken from
It's a John Prine song that was made famous by Bonnie Raitt. Called Angel from Montgomery, and I rewrote it to be Agent from the Company, about an agent of MURDER.
Agent from the Company. So now, here you go. Agent from the Company, Our Fair City.
I am an old woman. I live up on G-Deck. I season my ration with a teaspoon of tears. I had only one love, and though he is long gone, his memory sings to me across all these years. He was an agent that worked for the company. He sought out trouble and made it disappear. I know he tortured and murdered for money, but knowing ain't nothing, 'cause I wish he were here. We met at the alcove. He bought me a big one. He looked at his beeper and he had to go. Was back in 10 minutes, all covered in entrails, but I didn't notice because of the glow. He was an agent that worked for the company. He sought out trouble and made it disappear. I know he tortured and murdered for money, but no, it ain't nothing, 'cause I wish he were here. The last time I saw him was off in the distance. His last message to me was tracks in the snow. Now it's been a long while. I lost him to exile. When love is forbidden, there's no way
had to go. He was an agent that worked for the company. He sought out trouble and made it disappear. I know he tortured and murdered for money, but knowing ain't nothing, 'cause I wish he were here. But knowing ain't nothing, 'cause I wish he were here.
That was real good.
That was awesome. I love that. David loves his own stuff.
Oh,
He sure does.
we sound good.
That was that really was it was my favorite song
Thank you.
from the show, and I lost my shit every time. I would laugh out loud because I think people got a little intimidated, like of thinking like, oh, this is a soothing song. Oh, his entrails, right? Oh my gosh, this is awful. And I laughed so hard and so loud, and I remember like just sitting in the back because there was no, you guys sold out seats, and just laughing so hard. So congratulations on making the executive director of the Fringe Festival. We've seen quite a few shows.
Thanks. And I think we try really hard to live in that place where you're not sure whether it's okay to laugh, where you want to laugh, but you're also a little uncomfortable.
We should tell the clapping story, but later.
So before we
Whether it's okay.
I know the one.
Okay.
before we got into the song, before we played the song, you were talking about, you want to see how the company treats Archibald Funny Pants, and that's that extra layer there to this show. You guys are kind of sick. It goes to a dark place.
That's him.
Thank you.
It goes
Absolutely.
to a dark place.
That's Clayton.
I'm imagining it starts with you, Clayton. That's something that you've sort of imbued the writers with, this sense of darkness. And I would say,
you put the poison in me, Fates.
without giving away the show, if anybody does see it in the future or an incarnation of it again, it doesn't have a happy ending, really.
I should say not, no. Well, unless
And,
you are a true and loyal citizen of the Heartlight Company.
As
Right.
you should be.
Policy. As you should be.
But do you ever feel like you're alienating your audience in that way?
You say that like it's a bad thing.
I'm merely asking.
I think that it can be a little bit alienating in a way. I think that we try to give you charming and often adorable protagonists to relate to, and then we do bad things to them. And I think that Archie is a really sympathetic character because he's abrasive. His personality, he's not necessarily likable on his face, but you see him working under really tough conditions. The one of the mechanisms of the show, it doesn't give too much away. Every time Archie steps out of line or says something that doesn't,
There's a buzz.
there's a buzz,
crazy buzz.
and he has to say a disclaimer. He has to say that the views expressed in this program are solely those of Archibald Funny Pants, and they do not represent the views of Heart Life. He has to do this disclaimer every time, and then wait
For the ding.
for the ding of approval that says that he's been forgiven and he may
gets
continue.
increasingly harried as the show goes on. The speed in which he delivers that
Sure.
line and just becomes more and more oppressive.
Because at some point he's really crossed the line, and he knows that there's it's not just the buzzer. There's real punishment behind it.
Developing the buzzer sound was a lot of fun, too.
So I sort of posed it that way because you said, like a bad thing, because in a sense you build these heroes up for the audience, and now you're like, well, he's fucked.
Yep.
Well, you're not going to see what happens to him, but you know what happens to him.
Yeah.
But
yes.
you're okay with that.
We are okay with that. I mean, the show's designed to make you think, and the show is specifically designed to be an examination of how bad can things possibly get if we don't change our path of corporate consumerism and these economies that are specifically engineered toward growth. And growth is unsustainable. Development is sustainable. There's a way for everyone to lead richer, fuller lives. We get into like futurist territory here, but I think everyone
This is
should
an argument Clayton and I have a lot because he
I'm
wants
not
to
the
be
only one.
He wants to have his consciousness uploaded into a chip, and I want to die when it's time for me to die.
I do. I want to live forever.
He's just gonna be like zipping past me in cyberspace,
Gonna
and
have
like
to be a whole
goodbye,
other
corpse.
show,
I know.
though. It's gonna have to be a whole
right.
other
But
show.
I think everyone should work 20
we're
hours
on the
a week
same-
and have a
we're on the same
guaranteed
team.
base level of income, and that we're moving into a post-scarcity economy. And
I think our big problem is that we're moving into a post-scarcity economy and not a post-scarcity culture, and like looking at what happens.
structure
with
of
that.
wealth, the values of our society. If you're not working a full week, there's a stigma that's associated with that, and it makes it hard for you to live a comfortable lifestyle. And yet, when you do work a full week, you blow your money on luxury goods and entertainment that are going to sort of soothe the stress that comes from working a full week. It's a cycle that has been deliberately or otherwise engineered by big corporations and sort of designed it's designed to be self-perpetuating. And there's only going to be a change if there's a fundamental change in our social values. And so we kind of want to show the dark side of it.
An extra layer of fun, even though you might not have seen your show at Fringe Festival, is that this all took place in a church basement. That was your venue. So there would be like a portrait of Jesus in the corner while Archibald was being run down from the company.
Sure.
It was just
It was strange
just
because
an
there was
an
a picture of
interesting
Jesus,
other layer.
and then there was a boat over on the other side of the
Yeah.
stage. I
Well, it
failed.
was like their social hall.
Well, how are you
See,
going to get out
Fringe-
on the water to watch him walk, right?
Fringe,
Like-
Oh, that's
uses, Fringe uses converted space that we turn into theaters for the festival. So
Oh, and it's wonderful. I mean, that
It
is
is
kind of
wonderful.
improvised
I love
space
it.
is terrific.
I love that sort of
it's a
stuff.
fun space.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've come full circle back to the. I think that's what the theory of our fair city sort of began there, and I think we'll end there as well. I want to thank you, Clayton, Jeffrey, Betsey, and David
Are you?
from
you,
our
Vinny.
fair city. Do you guys want to plug anything that's upcoming, or if
Do we?
people want to become fans, where should they start?
Sure. Okay. So there are a bunch of ways to find us. We are at www.ourfaircity.com, and you can stream episodes there. You can also download them, all for free. You can also find a lot of our art and other interesting stuff there, as well as, as we said, we're all devastatingly handsome people, pictures of us, stuff like that, information about the company. We're also on iTunes. If you search Our Fair City, we've got a free podcast download if iTunes is your speed. You can find us on Facebook. I believe Our Fair City Radio, facebook.com/Our Fair City Radio or OFC Radio. Check both of those. Maybe,
See if I can find it on Facebook right
there we go. So we're on Facebook and we do a lot of,
now. Our Fair City Radio.
okay, so let's edit this. You can find us on Facebook at Our Fair City Radio. That's facebook.com/Our Fair City Radio.
And on Twitter, we're OFC Radio.
And on Twitter, we're OFC Radio. And we use those to let people know when we're having events, when we're doing live shows, when we're releasing episodes. Speaking of events, we are going to have our Season 5 launch party on January 18th. That's a Saturday, and that's going to be down at Defibrillator Performance Art Gallery. It's just south and east of the Division Blue Line stop on Milwaukee. Division, Ashland, Milwaukee. Really accessible, and it's an awesome, beautiful space. It's a semi-post-apocalyptic space, so it's just beautiful.
Awesome.
It's been the home of a lot of our launch parties. Our launch parties are really fun
You
times.
should come, Vinny.
We've
I'm
got
waiting for my invitation sent to my home.
absolutely.
It'll be embossed.
We do short live performances, and we'll be screening an exclusive trailer from the upcoming season, and we've got custom refreshments and food. And
Steph Taraska involved in this?
yeah, she is our board events chair, and she just runs a great party
We
along
were
with
drunk
Betsey Palmer.
behind Fishman's talking about event preparation. Me, you, and Betsy.
Maybe the biggest selling point is that we transform the space into an immersive, heart-life themed environment every year.
Oh, so cool. I'm coming. Book me.
Awesome.
Awesome.
If you guys do want to go check out Our Fair City, there's just a boatload of content on there. They have produced 4 seasons plus more in the time that they've been active together. So definitely get lost in their website and check them out.
You heard him. Get lost.
In the website. If you want to learn more about Chicago Fringe Festival, go to chicagofringe.org. Our applications, I shouldn't leave without plugging our applications. Applications for the 2014 Fest go live on Friday, December 18th at 10 a.m. The first 13 slots do not go into the lottery. Those are automatic entries into the Fringe Festival. Were you guys one of those last year?
We sure were, and I think we'll probably be one this year.
And you like that method,
Oh,
right?
it was great.
Great to bypass the lottery, and that really rewards shows who got their shit together and are ready, just like Our Fair City, to come out.
We absolutely recommend it.
With fists flying. So 10 a.m. December 13th, those applications sell out typically under 2 minutes. So you're going to want to be fingertips at keyboard.
Maybe we don't recommend it quite so strongly.
No, that's right.
We
Good
recommend
point.
it to no more than 12 of you.
There you go. So thank you guys again. Thank you so much for being here. ChicagoFringe.org, Our Fair City. I want to say a special thanks to Eric Somogyi, our Chicago Fringe intern, and Adrian, Diego, AJ, Sydney, Matt, and the rest of the team at Columbia College Chicago and their advanced sound suite. To play us out, we got one more song from Our Fair City. Clayton, you want to tell us, or David, you want to tell us, either of you, tell us what this song is.
Clayton, let's you and I say it both simultaneously. This is Daddy Sang Bass. Oh, man. All right. This is a cover of Daddy Sang Bass, originally written by Johnny Cash.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I remember when I was a kid, I'd watch what my parents did. They did their best to make me come there proud. Whoa, Mama dug algae from a pool. Dad taught policies in school. They get together in a family circle singing loud. Whoa, Daddy sang bass.
Mama sang tenor.
Me and little brother would join right in there.
Little sister, she fell down a hole.
When times were hard and things looked bad, I just listened to my mom and dad. All the life you'll ever need and all the soul. Oh no, the circle won't be broken. By and by, oh by and by.
Oh, Daddy sang bass.
Mama sang tenor.
Me and little brother would join right in there.
In the sky, oh, in the sky.
Well, I remember when I was 8, Daddy didn't come home till late. A cave-in crushed him, tearing off a limb. But for our sakes he survived, saying,
I'm lucky to be alive.
Then we joined our 7 hands and sang this hymn.
Sang this hymn. Oh, Daddy sang bass.
Mama sang tenor.
Me and little brother would join right in there.
Older brother was eating barn.
That darn mole.
When times were hard and things looked bad, I just listened to my mom and dad. All the life you'll ever need and all the soul. Oh no, the circle won't be broken. By and by, oh by and by. Whoa, Daddy sang bass.
Mom sang tenor.
Me and little brother would join right in there.
In the sky, oh, in the sky. Oh, you gonna take me home tonight? Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, you gonna let it all hang out that bottom moles. You make the rockin' world go round. Oh no, the circle won't be broken. By and by, oh by and by, is a better world awaiting. In the sky, oh in the sky. Oh no, the circle won't be broken. By and by, oh by and by, is a better world awaiting. In the sky, oh in the sky. Oh in the sky, oh in the sky.
And what is it recalled? What is it?
Oh, it's still
recalled?
Daddy Sang Bass.
All right. Daddy sang bass, Our Fair City, Chicago Fringe Festival. Thank you for listening.
I'm sorry.
Heart Life has made us all safe. The sacrifice of Neil Henderson has made for a time of plenty. And in this new era, a new hero is chosen.
She's a lovely young lady and a good friend of mine, and she's just been handpicked by Heartlife to be the city's first geonaut. Ladies and gentlemen, Cassie Wilkins.
I will not fail.
For an epic endeavor,
It's gigantic.
5 levels deep, a full section wide. It's equal in size to the largest of the old lightning rigs, or so I'm told. I've never seen one.
but she can't do it alone.
We're getting the band back together, Andrew.
Oh boy. Join us for another season of Our Fair City, where we bring you tales of romance,
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
secrets,
What do you need?
A pound, if you've got it.
I've got it. You got credits?
Here.
conspiracy.
Are you kids here to take down the man?
Action!
You're beneath the bench!
And
Science!
coming to your Audibox this winter, it's Our Fair City, Season 5. Drill Down.